Today we are just going to do a little bit about Fibonacci. I see everyone that is joining now pretty much knows how to use Fibonacci, but for the others that's going to watch it later on the website, it might help them. We're just going to focus on exactly where and how and when to use your Fibonacci, and know that it's not used every single move and every single on every single trade. So if you guys can just move over to your charts, and we'll start at let's just start at the Euro US dollar. Now if you look at the Euro US dollar, you see at the point in time on a daily chart, if you go to your daily chart, you're going to see that there's nothing we would use Fibonacci for right now on a daily chart. I mean, the zones we use is usually our 61.8 and 87 to 100. And price is just nowhere near any of those lines at the moment. So that is now is not a time we would use Fibonacci on a daily chart on Euro US dollar. But let's go look at some other time frames, and we can see what we can get. Remember also, the higher the time frame, the better and the more accurate the Fibonacci is. If I look at the 4 hours, and we look at the very last move that happened from the 23rd of April until today on a 4-hour chart, Euro US dollar, and we draw Fibonacci from the low to the high. So if you draw it from the low to the high, we're expecting a C at or around the 61 for a buy. Now, the one thing you need to remember is you always draw your Fibonacci from an A to a B to calculate your C. So if we draw it here from that A to that B, we see that our 61 fib is not really at any important zones. We need either previous support and resistance on that same level or around that level to know it is it's an important Fibonacci we can use. But if you draw it there, you'll see that just below the 61.8 Fibonacci, there is actually previous resistance. Now that can indicate on something. So we can actually expect, if price goes down from where it is right now and hits the 61, maybe even just breaks through it a little, we could most possibly get a C there for a buy up again. Now that is how we calculate kind of for future levels we need to look at. So now we know on Euro US dollar on 4 hours, we're going to look around the 61 Fibonacci for a buy trade. The level there is, let me just get the levels. The price there would be 1.0845, and the 61 Fibonacci will be 1.0889. So we know between those two levels, we're going to look for a buy order. So we're going to keep a very close eye on that level, just because we used Fibonacci and we have previous resistance there. So I'm not saying you can go and place a pending order there right now. You'll wait for price to get there, see what happens. Maybe we get a nice hammer or something over here, which we can then buy off. Okay, let's move to another pair. Let's start at the pound US dollar. And we can see here on the daily chart, the price actually just entered our sell zone today and yesterday. But you can draw a Fibonacci from any A to any B. Just remember that. Now we have multiple A's to draw from, and then the B at the very bottom of lowest low. So if we draw Fibonacci to our most recent high, we see our 61, it's already passed. If we draw it to our previous high, 61 passed, the high before that, 61 passed, the high before that, 61 passed. So we can't use Fibonacci on the pound US dollar at the moment. We will just not use it. We will look for other reasons to take a trade there, but Fibonacci will not be one of the reasons. Now let's move over to a 4-hour chart. Now on a 4-hour chart, we're sitting on an uptrend at the moment, so we will be looking at buying though. Even though it's not a good idea to be buying right now, that is what the chart is telling us to do. Now if you draw Fibonacci from your most recent low to the high we have right now, you see the 61 is just, the 61 is just above previous resistance. Well, it's actually quite a bit above previous resistance. So we know on 4 hours, pound US dollar, Fibonacci will not be an important level for us. And we will not be making trading decisions with Fibonacci at this point in time. Let's move over to the Japanese US dollar, the US dollar JPY. I actually see on daily, if we pull a Fibonacci down from most recent high to the high that was the low that was made today, we see the 61 Fibonacci is just above, where we could be looking at selling. But I don't see any other important levels for us to with the Fibonacci. That's all we have. Let's move to 4-hour. Now if you draw your Fibonacci on a 4-hour chart from your most recent high to your most recent low, A and B, you will see this very candle we are on at the moment just passed our 61 Fibonacci. If you zoom out and you look at the past, you see there's no other important levels on the 61. So it's not something we'll be using now. And if we draw to the previous, from the previous high, we see the same thing. So we will not be making trade decisions on on US dollar JPY with Fibonacci right now. It's as simple as that. You don't have to use Fibonacci on every single trade. It is also just one of your reasons to enter a trade, and we just don't have enough other reasons, including Fibonacci, at that pair at the moment. Let's check the Australian dollar US dollar. So if you open your Australian dollar US dollar chart daily, we can see we are actually looking now for a C to buy off. If you draw Fibonacci right now from your low to your high, which would be your A and your B, we see the 61 Fib is around 0.774. There's no other levels, important levels in that area. We will not be looking at using Fibonacci on that time frame right now. Let's go to 4 hours. We take 4 hours, we draw Fibonacci. Now on 4 hours, we'll be looking at buying. So we draw it from our most recent low to our most recent high, A and B. The low was on the 20th of April, the high was on the 29th of April. And we'll see your 61 Fib ends up being at around 0.7833, and that is almost exactly on previous resistance. and previous important levels. So this is a Fibonacci we are going to look at using. So on Australian dollar, US dollar, 4-hour chart, we can buy, make a trade decision. We can make a buy trade on our 61 just by the information we have right now. That the 61 fib, if you draw it from your low to your high, your A to your B, is on previous resistance. Okay. Let's move to our US dollar, Canadian dollar. No problem, Fricky. US dollar, Canadian dollar. If we look at that chart right now on a daily, we see that we will be looking to use Fibonacci to sell right now. Now if we draw Fibonacci from our most recent high to our most recent low, which would be A and B, we see the 61 Fibonacci is right up there at around a price of 1.2489. But there is no other important levels in the area. Again, this is a Fibonacci we will not be using. Let's just delete that one. Let's go down to 4 hours. On 4 hours, we'll be looking to use the Fibonacci to sell most recent high, most recent low, A to B, and we see our 61 is not on an important level, but we do see some consolidation on it. So we can wait for price to get there and then make a trade decision when it gets there. We see some candle info, we see some new resistance forming, we will make a trade decision and we will sell. So it's not something we can use right now. We can't enter the pending order right now on there because we don't know what's going to happen when it gets there. Okay. Okay, let's go to the EURUSD, Euro Japanese. On a daily chart, we use our most recent high, most recent low. Draw it from the high to the low, that's your A and your B. We see prices already past our 61. Price is now getting to our supply zone, which is around our 78 to 100%. And we see on that level, we actually do have very strong previous support. So this is actually a level we can consider doing something if we see something else happening. Let's go down to 4 hour and see what the chart looks like. Go down to 4 hour, we zoom out, we see it's been on a very big rally. And we'll draw our Fibonacci. We will actually, on 4 hour chart, we will actually be looking at buying. So we'll put our Fibonacci from our most recent low to our current high, which we don't know yet if it will be the high. Price can still go higher, but we just use it for now. And we actually see our 61.8 Fibonacci is actually on previous support. So that is a level now that we can buy from. We can buy at 130.103. So 130.10. That's a level we can look at buying next. Is everyone still with me? Who's still joined? Okay. And I'm just let's look at the Rand on a daily chart. South African Rand. I don't see any reason for us to be using Fibonacci right now. Okay, let's go to the US dollar South African rand. Daily chart, I don't see anything important. 4-hour chart, not so much either. If we draw a Fibonacci from our most recent high to low, it's our A and our B. We see our 61 fib is right up there at around, what is the price there? Around 12.072. But there's nothing else. This is again a Fibonacci we will not be using. We can't make a trade decision based on that Fibonacci right now. So again, completely discarded, not using it. Let's go to something it's a bit better pair. Let's just take the New Zealand dollar US dollar. So take New Zealand dollar US dollar on a daily chart. If we draw a fib now from the most recent low to the most recent high, we see that the 61 Fibonacci is actually also not really something important, something we want to use right now. So you'll go time frame less and we'll go look at 4 hours. And we'll see here, if we draw a fib we'll actually be using a fib here. Looks like we'll be using a fib to buy. We draw it from our high to our low. Again, 61 on nothing important. Go to 1 hour, let's look at it. So we're on New Zealand dollar, US dollar. And we draw Fibonacci from our most recent high to most recent low. We see our 61 is up there at around a price of 0.767. And I can actually see that just below that there's some previous resistance, but again it's a level we won't be using. So as you guys can see, it's just what I'm trying to get to is you will not be using your Fibonacci on every single trade. You will not even be using it on 50% of your trades. You will only use it if it is in correlation with another important level. If you have previous support and resistance there, or if you draw Fibonacci and on it you get nice candle info, like you get a nice shooting star on it, or a hammer on it, or evening stars, morning stars, and graphs just above or on it, that would be a nice indication. But it's nothing you can make a future decision of. It's nothing you can say, I will definitely put a pending in now. If price reaches that level, I will sell there or I will buy there. You'll have to wait for other confirmation, except in cases where there is already a supply and demand zone, or a current support and resistance, then you can obviously go ahead and take it. So if price gets there, forms a resistance, comes down, gets back to that resistance. Same with supports. That is really the only times we will be looking to use our Fibonacci's. Other than that, you will completely discard it as one of your trading rules. You don't have to put it on every single move that is being made, every single wave that is being made on your zigzag. Yes, if there's any questions, you guys can shoot now, and I'll help you.